Good morning, I'm Taylor Wilson, and today is Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. This is The Excerpt. Today, former President Donald Trump has selected his running mate. Plus, President Joe Biden rejects criticisms that his rhetoric could have incited this past weekend's gunman. And a judge has dismissed the case against Trump over his handling of classified documents. The Republican National Convention kicked off yesterday in Milwaukee, with the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump still front of mind. And speaker after speaker used their moment on the convention stage yesterday to uplift Trump, often in biblical terms, while blasting Joe Biden as a feeble president. But the most anticipated moment yesterday came when Trump picked Senator JD Vance as his running mate. Both Trump and Vance were formally selected yesterday as the GOP's 2024 presidential and vice presidential nominees. I spoke with USA Today national political correspondent David Jackson for more. David, thanks for hopping on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, David, the pick is in. What do we know about JD Vance? Who is he and what's his background?
Well, he's many things, basically. He rose to prominence as a book author. He wrote a book about rural America called Hillbilly Elegy, wrote about basically the problems of Appalachia. He was the editor of the Yale Law Review, so he's been a lawyer and he's been a businessman with a lot of high-tech contacts. And in 2022, he decided he wanted to run for the U.S. Senate, and he did so, and he managed to secure the endorsement of one Donald J. Trump, and that was his ticket to the U.S. Senate.
So, David, why Vance? What could be some factors that led Trump to make this decision?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, Vance had the support of Donald Trump Jr., and that was no small thing. Secondly, Trump liked the idea of having someone young. I mean, Vance is only 39 years old. He turns 40 in early August. So I think he wanted to add some, quote, youthful zest, end quote, to the ticket. A lot of people think that the biggest factor is the fact that Vance has a prodigious fundraising network. I spoke about his high-tech contacts, and a lot of them gave him a lot of money for his Senate run in 2022. And I think the Trump campaign is counting on him being able to raise big bucks for this vice presidential run.
You know, is Trump trying to solidify his base with this pick or go after new voters closer to the middle politically?
Exactly. That's another thing Trump has said and people are going to say is that he and Vance do have like-minded views, MAGA-like views, if you will. They're kind of against free trade. They want more border security. They're kind of down on illegal immigration. So that's also a very big factor. They see the issues alike. And so Trump's feeling is that that will allow Vance to appeal to working class voters in some of these key states that are going to decide the election. And that includes Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. The rural vote there could very well go Trump's way and could put him over the top.
I'm curious, David, how big of a player we can expect Vance to be as part of this Trump campaign. Like, first, will he be a huge part of the convention the rest of this week? And you know, is this a guy who really will hit the pavement the next few months in terms of campaign events?
I think so, but I wouldn't look for him to take too high a profile because, as we all know, Donald Trump likes to have the spotlight to himself. But he'll give a formal acceptance speech on Wednesday night, and I'm sure he'll be campaigning a lot, and we'll see him a lot in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, appealing to those rural voters that the Trump campaign is counting on.
And on the other side of the coin, how is President Joe Biden responding to Trump's decision here?
Well, they're doing a conference call as we speak with reporters, but basically they're starting to describe the Trump-Vance ticket as the most extreme in American history. One of the things I think they'll zero in is that Vance's total opposition to abortion rights. I think that's going to be a big part of the critique of him. And also the fact that he switched sides. You know, at one time, JD Vance was a very harsh critic of Donald Trump. He called him an idiot and basically said he would be bad for America. And in a recently unearthed text message, he told a friend that he wondered if Trump was going to become, quote, another Hitler. So there has been bad blood between the two of these in the past.
All right. Interesting stuff. David Jackson covers national politics for USA Today. Thank you, David.
Thanks, sir.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden rejected accusations his speeches or rhetoric could have incited the gunman who attempted to assassinate Donald Trump during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania on Saturday. In the exclusive interview with NBC News' Lester Holt, Biden also said it was a mistake for him to say it was time to put a bullseye on Trump. Credit to NBC News and Lester Holt for this audio.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate.
Biden made the comment about Trump as he battles a push to quit the Democratic ticket after a poor debate performance that underscored concerns about his age. But after Trump's assassination attempt over the weekend, Biden said in an Oval Office address that it was time to tone down the political rhetoric. Republicans, including Trump's new running mate, Senator JD Vance, blamed Biden's rhetoric for the assassination attempt. You can read more with a link in today's show notes. A Florida federal judge has dismissed the criminal case against Donald Trump over his handling of classified documents. I caught up with USA Today Justice Department correspondent Aisha Bagchi to learn more. Aisha, always good to hear from you.
It's great to be here, Taylor.
So Aisha, why did the judge dismiss this case?
Judge Eileen Cannon ruled that the appointment of the special counsel in Donald Trump's case, Jack Smith, was unconstitutional. She pointed to a provision of the Constitution that requires appointments of certain officers to go through Senate confirmation. And she said that that provision applied to this appointment and that that had not happened. And she said that Congress had never passed a statute that authorized the Attorney General, in this case, Merrick Garland, to appoint a special counsel like Jack Smith without going through some separate process that involved Congress. She also ruled that the funding for the special counsel was also unconstitutional, but based on just the appointments issue, she said that the entire case has to be dismissed. So if this ruling stands up on appeal, the case is over.
This decision comes days after an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Now we have the Republican convention this week as well. He's just announced a vice president running mate. How is Trump responding to this decision?
Hailed it as a victory. He called it an important first step in the aftermath of the assassination attempt. And what he means there is to suggest something that his son, Donald Trump Jr., posted on social media in the past few days, that the atmosphere generated by the criminal cases he's facing, he's arguing has contributed to a climate that led to the assassination attempt. And he said that all the cases against him should go away now.
Well, yeah, so what's this now mean for those other cases?
This decision in itself does not mean much for those cases. There is one other federal case that theoretically could be affected, but it's important to know that the judge in this case only oversees this case. There's a totally separate judge in Washington, D.C., who deals with Trump's federal election interference case, his other federal criminal case. So this doesn't affect that case directly. But if this decision was upheld on appeal, it could go all the way to the Supreme Court. Then effectively what the court system would be saying is that Jack Smith's appointment was unconstitutional. And Jack Smith is also the lead prosecutor in Trump's federal election interference case. So ultimately, if this were adopted by the Supreme Court, or if a judge in Washington, D.C. decided to follow suit, then this would be great news for his other federal case. But there's a lot still to unfold about whether that's going to happen.
Yeah, you mentioned this appeal. What can we expect from this Justice Department appeal that's still set to come?
Yes, I expect them to appeal. I didn't hear back from them when I reached out for comment, but they're expected to appeal. This is going to go to what's called the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. And it should be noted that Judge Eileen Cannon, the judge in this case, has issued a series of rulings that legal observers thought deviated from traditional understandings of the law in ways that were friendly to Trump. And I note that especially because the 11th Circuit, this appellate court, overruled Judge Cannon on a really important issue earlier in the process that led to this case. It had to do with seized records from Mar-a-Lago that Trump didn't want investigators to be able to see. And Cannon temporarily blocked their ability to see that, but it was appealed. And 3 Republican-appointed judges on the 11th Circuit overturned Cannon's decision. So it's going to be the same 11th Circuit. It may or may not be the same 3 judges, but it'll be the 11th Circuit looking at this appeal initially, assuming Jack Smith does file it. Above the 11th Circuit is going to be the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court did just issue a ruling having to do with presidential immunity in Trump's federal election interference case, and Trump hailed that as a victory. Before the Supreme Court took that case and heard oral arguments, there were legal observers who didn't think the court was going to go so far in granting Trump presidential immunity. So that raises questions about whether the court may go further than many legal observers would expect when it comes to this case as well, in the appointment of Jack Smith. Justice Clarence Thomas, in the presidential immunity case, wrote a separate concurrence just to basically invite a lower court judge to consider whether the appointment of a special counsel is constitutional. So Thomas at least showed some friendliness to this idea, but it remains to be seen what the other justices will say. I should also note that there have been other court decisions that have all upheld the constitutionality of special counsels or special prosecutors in other cases. So this is a decision that does veer away from the norm in other cases.
Great breakdown. As always, Aisha Bagchi covers the Justice Department for USA Today. Thank you, Aisha.
Thanks, Taylor.
Dental care access is in crisis. There's a great divide for Americans who need dental care, with some forced to live with pain and shame while others flash five-figure veneers. The government offers no backup plan for the tens of millions without dental insurance, and insured people often struggle to cover out-of-pocket costs if they have extensive dental needs. Since 2014, the Affordable Care Act has provided coverage to millions of Americans through subsidized medical insurance and expanded Medicaid, the federal and state health insurance program for low-income families. The federal law does not mandate adult dental insurance, which means millions of people are routinely denied necessary dental care. And the problem runs deeper. Having dental insurance often does not amount to financial security if you have extensive needs. Many dental plans require patients to shoulder pricey, out-of-pocket care beyond routine cleanings and x-rays. You can read more with a link in today's show notes. Some butterflies are globetrotters. Painted lady butterflies fly at least 2,600 miles across the Atlantic, from West Africa to French Guiana in South America. That's according to a new study published by Nature Communications last month. The study states that the butterflies possibly traveled at least 4,300 miles from the point of butterfly emergence, meaning the location where the butterflies emerged from their cocoons. And researchers added that the overall journey, which must be assisted by wind, is among the longest documented for individual insects and potentially the first verified transatlantic crossing. Amazon Prime Day is today and tomorrow, and we've got a breakdown of all the best deals on electronics, kitchen gadgets, self-care products, and much more. Check out the link in today's show notes. Thanks for listening to The Excerpt. You can get the podcast wherever you get your pods, and if you're on a smart speaker, just ask for The Excerpt. I'm Taylor Wilson, back tomorrow with more of The Excerpt from USA Today.